Welcome back to the Disrupt Education podcast. Are we full summer mode? Are we full summer mode? I mean, I don't know if I am, Allie. I know you've been summer mode for like a year. So
What even is full summer mode? I mean, it's this feeling of freedom. So in that sense, yes, I have been in that space for a little bit. Um, what does full summer mode mean to you, Peter?
yeah, I think it's when you wake up and you have your whole day to plan for yourself. And your family, obviously, so there's just different things going on. My daughter is starting driver's ed, so everybody pray for me there. Anytime you have any kid, and I don't mean, when my son went through it, pray for me there. It doesn't matter. So I don't differentiate. Teens driving in general scare the crap out of me. So no, she's doing good. We went driving the other day. That's what summertime means. Going to a couple ball games with my son, and traveling around. We're actually coming up to the Milwaukee. That's the old if anybody's ever seen the what is it? I just lost the movie. It's when Alice Cooper says it in the Wayne's World. So Milwaukee, it's really funny scene for those
Coming
old
up to
folks who know that.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, so we're going up to Wisconsin. We'll be up there in a couple of days to see the Brewers play, and yeah, wife takes off to Italy, and I get the kids and the dogs for 10 days. So doing good. That's summer mode for me.
Summer mode. I like what you said about how you can wake up and plan the whole day.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. What if learning was you had more autonomy and could wake up and easily map out and plan the whole day without everything being kind of dictated for you? What would I just, starting off this podcast episode with that idea is really striking me
Yeah.
because um we had Amanda uh on last week, and the work at Propello is all about, students and teachers having, an easy way to kind of map out the learning that reaches you where you're at. And honestly, when I think about, education, it's so like waffly. And if you if you haven't heard this analogy before, well, you're welcome. Okay, but there's this idea of like waffle people and spaghetti people. And I'd have certain classes that would embody like a waffle personality, and other classes in general that would embrace more of a spaghetti personality. And a waffle, there's benefits to both, and you can go back and forth, but waffles are, they've got square, distinct spaces for syrup, and every topic goes in a certain space, and it's for people who, you say something and that's where they put it in that box and it doesn't go to another box. And so, like, if I was talking about ionic bonding in the classroom, we would stay on that topic, we'd get through the examples, they'd take their notes, and the class, it would just go orderly. And then you would mention ionic bonding to someone, and someone would be like 007 James Bond, and now we're talking about like movies, and those are your spaghetti classes where everything is just like all intermixed, and anything can take you off topic, and there's like usually wild connections that get made, and you have to kind of reel those classes in. But all of this to say that teaching can feel very waffly, and you have to put things in certain boxes, and there isn't necessarily a lot of space to be more spaghetti. And I think full summer mode is a little bit more spaghetti than it is waffly.
You have me thinking of Elf right now, right? Just put the syrup on, the
Oh my
spaghetti.
God.
I love that. That is a great analogy. I try to make a point of having at least one conversation with somebody who's not in my immediate family, because we talk all the time, but a day. So I've been working with like Derek Griffin, who's a DG Sax. He was my first guest on the Disrupt Education podcast years ago. I mean, we still talk, and do some lives on LinkedIn and things like that, because I want to see where a 26-year-old is in the work world that I used to have in the classroom. I just talked to another person who is a manager in retail who I had in class. He's now in Dallas, from Chicago, and we were talking yesterday. So I think like that is, I'm wondering if students or learners in general during the school year, and we talked a little bit about bringing summertime into the classroom, could we have days where, all right, I know school is social, let's not beat around that one. It's a very social place. It's becoming more and more social. But how can we get students to just talk to at least one different person a day? And it could be around ionic bonding. Is that what it was? That was, how I remember that? You said James Bond, so I must be a spaghetti person. So but I think when we go back to what Amanda was saying and talking about how teachers have more autonomy with this, and then students can now even have choice in a platform like this. I think that's where it's going. I mean, it has to, right? We were talking about at the end of the school year, the podcast before Amanda came on, about when AI jumps in. I mean, it's a regurgitate's done. Like, I mean, it's been done for a while, but like, now it's even more. So how do we get kids actively engaged in human connections? And I think that's where, at least that's where Amanda and Propello was talking about. That's what they're doing. They're trying to set these, how do we make spaghetti, keep it spaghetti, and enjoy the spaghetti. I sound like a chef.
Spaghetti is good, and it's great for creativity, and for you think about throwing spaghetti on the wall, like you can see things differently. There's a place to to have waffles too. But the other thing with Amanda's work at Propello, and just that kind of idea of learning that is it's ease of use, and also it gives choice, and let's be honest, it's free. This is something that I like. If you're not in the educational space, you may not know, but a lot of the resources provided to you as an educator are already determined for you, and they were probably expensive for the school district. And that money, right, like the school district then wants those resources to be used, even if they are not, they don't allow you to do spaghetti, like they're so waffly, and they can be really great resources. They can also be really like cumbersome and or not intuitive. I mean, I remember this one platform at one of the school districts I taught at, and it literally, to get to the one thing myself and my students required, needed like 4 different screens that you had to click. Can you I mean, even for me, it would be like a memory. Like, you have to click this little button, and then you have to type this in, and then you have to, like, it was very non-intuitive, but it went along with the textbook, so I had to use it, and it was like a resource for me. But when you're instructing, right, and Amanda talked about this, is that you can have so many different things that you have to go for to create a lesson or create a unit worth of material. And so having one place to kind of house that or create that, oh my gosh, it sounds amazing and incredible, because I can just think of all of kind of all the resources that kind of I got. I don't want to say like it was bad, but there was like too many. It's like the
Right.
cereal aisle.
Hmm.
I don't, a lot of people may not understand this. Okay, I'm not a personal fan. This is like all this food analogies, I guess, but
I
I'm
like
not
it
a
though. We'll just go
I'm
with it.
I'm not a fan of the cereal aisle personally. There's way too many choices. Like I remember at one point, like when I was an adult, and I had my own budget where I could go decide what I want to buy at the grocery store. Okay. And I was like, whoa. I was like overwhelmed
Mhm.
by the choices. And I felt that every year as an educator, and ed tech companies like have only become more prolific, right? So I can't imagine not only like your teachers having to choose like what resources are going to be the best, but curriculum coordinators, district leaders who have to then like, I mean, there's like a bidding process, and it's like it's big money. It's
Hmm.
big money for school districts and teachers. And then like, but teachers sometimes don't get, it depends on the size of your district and everything, a lot of say in those resources, but they are told to use them.
Right.
And maybe, if you are an ed tech company, I don't know. I think less is more. I love
Hmm.
Aldi because you know what? There's not that many cereal choices. Okay. I eat oatmeal now anyway. Like,
I actually do too. That's weird. That's disrupting
that
oatmeal.
cereal, really. Like we both had it with the cereal aisle. I just think that there's a lot to be said about um making these softwares, these resources really robust and more free. I
Hmm.
mean, education, like, stop charging school districts an arm and a leg. This is just, my like
Hmm.
clap back at like big ed tech companies. But, and then I think, we're in summer season. Don't make your teachers do, if you're the school district doing all this, like spend a week of their summer being sold to on like what is the best thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot in there. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, yeah, I like the I haven't eaten cereal in years actually. It's funny because I am an oatmeal person as well. I just have my oatmeal in the morning, and but I see it kind of like that. So even if you do need to go into a cereal aisle, I feel like companies like Propello are like, okay, well, I'm trust me as the educator, and if there are three types of cereal, really high sugar, I don't know, like wheat and oatmeal. I don't, yeah, like, and but then I can create something to give my students those three choices. All those cereals are going to be there. It just eliminates what you don't need, and it's easy enough for me as the accountability partner in the classroom, and then also giving students the autonomy to kind of go in and say, all right, I'm high sugar crazy, love the high sugar stuff, which trust me, back in the day I would eat like crazy. But now, like, you see the effects, right? Like, so, but even if students wanted to learn that, let's just say they're in a health and nutrition class, they can actually pick, and then it creates something, but the outcome may be they have to give a presentation or a sales pitch for that cereal or whatever, right? But they have to understand that, and then it just guides you there, right? Because even if you go to the wheat route or the healthy route or whatever, you still have to give the presentation at the end, and you have to hit pieces. That's what I love about like softwares like this. Like it is, like you said, it gives and it has to be actionable. Like learning, it has to have a human connection, and it has to have an outcome. But also, I really like what you said about like summertime. There is nothing more I love than to going to a week thing, usually online or back at my school where there's dust everywhere, and learning about something that I didn't choose. Said no teacher ever.
Ever.
So right, like, so I think companies that do that, and actually, and I got to give a Spike View shout out too, because it's made to not charge the student, right? It should always be free. And I think that's a trend. Like, so what is right? Who's going to fund these things? And there are ways to do it. I know because I work with a lot of ed tech companies. But that's when you know that they're real, right? Like they're not just, with I don't want to like say names, but like you're right. There are companies out there making hundreds of millions of dollars because there's politics behind it. There is, one school does it, so everybody looks at that school, which I think is a terrible way to look at it. I really dislike when schools say, well, who else is using it? Well, I'm like, well, tell me like about what your culture at your school is. And I can see if this does fit in, because we did mention that in that podcast with Amanda. She was like, what works in CPS, Chicago Public Schools, may not work in a suburban school or a rural school, which, that's the understatement of the world. Like we have to understand like where people are, who are our clients, who are our learners, what kind of access do they have, or what kind of access are they missing, and I think to put a ginormous one big waffle square, just one waffle square in for everybody. And I think that's where this is what excites me about Propello and other companies is they're seeing that, hey, wait a minute, like this, we can't make something that's going to hit only 30% of the people right in the middle of that bell curve. We can't do that because you have, even if it's 50, you're still missing half of your class. And and I know if you're trying to teach a class where only half the kids are engaged, right? I mean, even I know some teacher out there, well, I only have like 30% engaged, which is, it's becoming more difficult. I don't want to, discount that, but to have assets that are coming through with technology to help you and help the students really start to see, hey, this is a way that you can do it. And then again, you become the accountability partner and you create some interesting things with your students. I can't wait to where, and I see it going this way. Maybe I'm letting something out of the box here for Propello. I don't know if they're going to do this, but like where you set aside, like, here is something for you. You have to know ionic bonding. I'm going to stick with that. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. So like, if you have to learn this and you have to create a lesson for it to teach somebody 2 grades below you or a couple of years, or maybe just in general, somebody who doesn't know that. I don't know ionic bonding. I'm sorry. I have to remember it. But what would you do and how do you create it? And then you have that happen within a classroom. That's where it gets amazing.
It does, because the types of teaching that is really required because of where technology is at, it needs to be more than regurgitation. It needs to be more than stuff you can Google or chat GPT. And the other thing that I know we've talked about, this was probably last fall with and certainly the pandemic had this edtech bubble burst, right? And so many of my teacher friends and educators in the space have either looked into edtech companies because they do tend to hire teachers. But then I think last fall, we had kind of that, or winter, a little bit of a burst where a lot of those teachers who went that route got let go or dismissed from it. It was like, oh, well, we got what we needed, or who knows what the reason is totally. But there was a lot of layoffs and everything in that sector. Well, the thing with not just ed tech, but any kind of company or learning environment, which arguably is every environment, having teachers and people who are trained at like taking information and disseminating it, because you can have all these resources, but if you don't understand how a classroom and like how learning happens, there's only so much those resources can do. It's like teachers are these major gap fillers, bridge builders. They are helping take any resource and making it come to life. And that's one of the things that stood out to me when Amanda was talking, was that everyone there is a former educator or still an educator. And I don't personally know another ed tech company or kind of a paver of helping teachers when every single person can understand what a teacher needs because they have been in that role and space. And I think every company and learning environment would benefit from somebody who has literally taught someone like ionic bonding, a topic that means absolutely nothing to most people unless you've taken high school chemistry, and like made sense, made it relatable, has you thinking about James Bond and electrons and all that fun stuff. There's this element of storytelling and getting people engaged, but a resource can only do so much.
Right.
And I think if you don't understand what an educator brings to the space to fill what any resource cannot do, your technology, your resource, your equipment, any of that is going to collect dust, and be one of those sad cereal boxes. Cereal aisle.
You're a
Doesn't get eaten.
sad cereal box. I love that. Wow, I like that. We need to like go ahead and copyright that. Like don't be a sad cereal box. You're sitting in the back
Make
there.
t-shirts.
You're past your expiration dates. The part of the box is like wilting away. No, but it's true.
Yeah.
I think you hit it on the head. Why actually a lot of companies didn't stick around post pandemic. When you there was an immediacy, like we needed to get everybody there. So I think of Dunkirk, right? Like, so for those who don't know in history, like the UK sent a bunch of boats to Dunkirk to rescue their World War II, fighters because the Germans were taking over the island, right? So in order to get these 200,000 plus troops off of the island, they actually put together like just you and I had a boat, we're going to go, right? And it was dangerous, but that's the way they got people off the island. And so, but then after that, right, the people went back to fishing or whatever on their boats, right? I feel like that's what happened to ed tech, right? It was like, we need something really quickly. And everybody rushed in and tried to help all these different things. And some of them did, some of them didn't, some of them did some great things. Some of them failed, but hey, you know what? We were kind of in an emergency situation there for a lot of people who didn't understand how to distance learn. And then now we're kind of back to, okay, so what did we learn from it? How can we continue to create autonomy in learning as well as hitting things that we need to hit and using technology or having technology as a piece of the pie, right? So, and then saving time, and we saw all these different things that were happening because we opened up the classroom, right? So I think, with that being said, I know it's a weird analogy. We went from, bad cereal boxes to Dunkirk, but hey, that's what we do here. But kind of going through that, and myself working with plenty, and I was like, man, I would love to get out of the classroom and work for these ed tech companies and and it was a carrot, right? But what I had to do is take a step back and see the bigger picture. Like, okay, what's happening here? Is this, for somebody who lived through the .com bust, I'm like, okay, this looks a lot like .com, like there's too many coming into the market. Some of them are going to live, some of them aren't. And kind of what Amanda was saying is, and we're saying here is the companies that are going to live are going to be the ones that are authentic, right? They understand what's happening in a classroom. They understand the neurological benefits of how technology can help and how it can hurt. They understand the waffle spaghetti. They understand what's happening in classrooms because they are not hiring teachers just to say they're hiring teachers. They're hiring teachers to give them, okay, tell me what it's like, you know. And I've been involved with both type of companies. I've been involved of the money grabbers, and I've been involved with, you know, and these are just conversations not working for, but now I am working for a company that is doing, you know, really understanding what do we need, what do kids need, and then how do we get it to them or have them kind of find it. And those are the companies, like you said, those are going to be the corner caps at the Aldi selling the cereal. How about that?
Yes. They're going to be the Cheerios because they're going to stick around. Everyone's going to know their name.
Right.
I do
True.
like Cheerios.
True. So
It's been an interesting school year in terms of uh districts still pivoting, changing, students, you know, I feel like we're in like this recovery mode from this sprint that had to happen. The dust is settling, and the companies and the school districts that will continue to kind of be disruptors and push the envelope, I think, are, this is a theme that's come out many times, but Amanda definitely touched on it about trusting educators, um, less red tape, more autonomy, and resources that are in alignment with that. So don't shackle your teachers to and students to learning in one waffle box. You can have all the waffle squares, and those can be, you know, very valuable. But I think that allows you, man, I just can't get the picture of Elf out of my head. Eating spaghetti and waffles. Like, you need both. They're both the syrup. But like, you know what? That could be good. Somebody liked it.
allegedly Will Ferrell got really sick on set because he had to keep eating it. So I don't, you'd have to look that up, but I've heard that story. So,
Too much
but
of anything,
you get
you
used to
know.
it, right? I mean, like my dog eats everything and she's fine, you know. I don't know. I love our analogies today. So, but you know, going along with what you're saying there, it really is ed tech companies. You know, honestly, I feel like I've never met one like Propello. I mean, I've never met people who are doing what they're doing to that level. I honestly think that they're a leader when it comes to really putting together this stuff, these different pathways, you know, choose your own path and all these different things that can come out of this where I think what we in general, and that we're secondary educators, you're a lifelong educator now, you're like helping people, you know, change and stuff, but you have to give them the confidence to make those choices. And then, you know, they have it, but like to bring it out from them. And then also, you know, really help them build their own story through, you know, chemistry, through business, through whatever is teaching, and get away from this learned helplessness. It's the biggest thing that I'm just like, and I feel like this is a platform, and there's more platforms coming, but that are helping students just get away from the learned helplessness. You don't need to ask me, like, create, experiment, you know, fail, screw it up, get back into it, and let's see what happened. Like I said, everything is really a science experiment, right? Like everything does come out. Life is a science experiment, right? You either, you know, something, you know, goes haywire, and so you try to figure out what happened, or something goes right, and you got yourself some really good oatmeal. I don't know, you know. So, but you know, kind of wrapping up, yeah, what are that I know some of your final thoughts here, and this is kind of dangerous to ask you right now. What are your final thoughts in the cereal aisle of life and learning?
Cereal aisle of life and learning. Well, too much choice It's not a good thing.
Mhm.
And giving teachers that ability to pick and choose their waffle spaghetti ways, their slice of pie. What other foods did we mention? I think is is really helpful for the educational space. And I would add that if you're going to be in any kind of supporter role in the education space, have educators be part of the discussion. It would be like making a cereal that tastes like spaghetti if you don't. That
Now
doesn't
you're on
sound.
to something. So I hope we didn't ruin everybody's lunch or dinner or whenever you're listening to this, breakfast. But no, yeah, you're right. And I think that's to the point right there. I'm curious to go even one more step. Is there a place for students to help edtech companies while they're in school? I don't know. Interesting. I'm going to leave that out there. Oh, well,
One last thing.
yeah.
Full summer mode of having the whole day to plan out and decide what you're going to do and learn is possible in the fall, winter, and spring, if only we imagine it.
There we go. And that is going to be a wrap. We're going to walk out of the grocery store. We're going to get our quarterback in the Aldi, the shopping cart. We're not even sponsored by Aldi. We should be sponsored by Aldi somehow. So, but look, if you want to kind of go back to the episode right before this one with Propello and with Amanda, it is incredible the way that they're doing some different things. It will open your mind. As a matter of fact, you just gave me an idea there, Allie, out of this entire last 2 episodes to think about, okay, how do I limit choices to students? Because I know I made that mistake this year in the classroom where the students had too many choices and they froze. That's something that I'm actually reflecting on for the summer as well. And I love that just actually came out of this conversation. So hopefully you all have picked something great out of this conversation. Leave a comment, subscribe, connect with Allie or I, or both here on the podcast and LinkedIn or wherever. And we are happy to have you. So thanks again for listening. For Allie Privet, I'm Peter Hostrasser. Appreciate you all. Have a wonderful, restful summer, but we'll see you next week again. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of the Disrupt Education Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Are you ready to disrupt the educational arena you're a part of? For more ways to get involved in the work we do here at Disrupt Education, check us out at disrupteducation.co or find us on LinkedIn at Peter Hostrasser or Allie Privet.
Our mission here is to help facilitate and amplify changes in the educational system through local initiatives and help you scale them into community movements. Our building network of disruptors in education are working to move beyond scores and grades as the only measure for student learning. If your school district, college, campus, or organization is looking for facilitators of this work, reach out on our website or social media.
And if you have any thoughts or feedback on this week's episode or any episode, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries, taking risks, and most importantly, disrupting education.